I am joined by Robert Griffin III, James Whitefield, yes, Mina Kimes. All right, so first play we're going to look at, 2nd and 2, one of the Patriots' first offensive plays.
What's going on, everyone? Mike Kadlick, Taylor Kyles here for CLNS Media, back with another episode of the Patriots Daily podcast, powered by PrizePicks, powered by GameTime, and powered by the 3-11 New England Patriots, coming off an ugly loss last weekend against the Arizona Cardinals. Flipping the page today, as Jerod Mayo told us on Sunday, getting ready for the AFC East leading Buffalo Bills this coming Sunday, flexed in to a 4:25 time slot. It's a Wednesday, so we got our mailbag. We have all your questions loaded up. We're going to get to as many as possible throughout the show. We're going to be talking a lot about Jerod Mayo, his job security, Mike Vrabel rumors, what's going on-field issues, off-field issues, all of that stuff with the Patriots. So we're going to get to all of that throughout the mailbag. We also were just down in Foxborough, recorded a couple of stand-ups regarding Mayo, regarding Vrabel. So once those are up, we're going to turn you guys towards that. Right now, off the bat, we're going to start with some Drake Maye film that we promised on Monday. We're going to get to that. We're going to hit on his ups and his downs from the Patriots' loss in Arizona. But first, let's actually quickly touch on this injury report that just came out with the Patriots, Taylor. First practice of the week, 3 DNPs. All 3 were absent from practice as well when we were out there. Kyle Duggar with an ankle and an illness. JaMycal Hasty with an ankle. Marcus Jones with a hip. Not a concussion, as some may have thought, because he got smoked on that last onside kick attempt in the game. And then a couple other ones of note. Javon Baker returns from a concussion. He was limited. He told Doug Kyde today in the locker room that he got in a tough car accident over the bye week. So glad to hear that he's doing okay. And other ones of note, Christian Barmer is obviously there. Christian Gonzalez with the shoulder. Fadarian Lowe with the shoulder as well. Cole Strange remaining limited with a knee. So anything pressing to you come up on the injury report outside of the obvious before we get into Drake Maye?
I'm glad that Marcus Jones doesn't have a concussion. That's one, because if you look at the play, the defender kind of hit him in the head. A little surprised it wasn't a penalty, but it's good to see it's not at least that. But also Alex Erickson, who was brought in today, he now is a locker wearing number 14 for the Patriots. He's got punt return experience, so it is possible, as Mike Reese noted, that may be why he was signed, just in case maybe Marcus Jones either doesn't play or isn't a full go, and they want to take a little off his plate, maybe even add some depth, whether or not you want to start Pop in that role. Outside of that, nothing really crazy. Javon Baker, kind of interesting that he's still in. Mike Reese said that he cleared concussion protocol, but apparently they're trying to be cautious, whatever. He was limited, at least he's back there. And then Kyle Duggar was interesting because obviously now it's an illness on top of the ankle, but we talked about this in practice, but you kind of got to wonder, did they shut Kyle Duggar down at this point? Because we mentioned it yesterday in the show. He just doesn't seem healthy enough to warrant being on the field. And if you're talking about you need this youth movement to see what guys have, sure, Marte Mapu hasn't been very good for you, but neither is Jalen Polk. So I don't really see why you would put Duggar out there. Like, I don't even think Peppers is 100% either. It looks like whatever that knee issue is still bothering him, because I don't think he looks as explosive. So that's one thing. I do wonder if we'll see Duggar next week, if this is just maybe a precursor to another big move. I don't know. But again, it's not just the ankle that he's already been dealing with. It's also illness. So no way to know. But I think that's at least something that warrants some kind of discussion.
Yeah, for sure. And I didn't even, as far as the Marcus Jones injury goes, yeah, you hope you see him this weekend, but a hip can be tough. And a DNP on a Wednesday, obviously it's their biggest day. When you get closer, Thursday, Friday, that's when it starts to, you start to question if he'll end up playing. Could be just an early in the week rest day, but see what happens there. Like I said, hips can be tough. And then Duggar, I'm totally with you as far as at this point, the ankle, he hasn't been playing good football. And we've given the ankle sometimes as not an excuse, but a reason for why he's playing so poorly. To see him back on the injury report, not there at all. Again, it could be the illness. I think he was one of the players wearing a mask in the locker room last week as well. So, it could be residual to that. Again, we don't know, but would not shock me on with you as far as potentially shutting him down. It seems like at this point, 3-11, supposedly one of your marquee players on defense. You might just want to get him healthy into next season.
And obviously, this isn't 100% the reason, because he played against the Dolphins and there was no illness that we knew of, but it kind of reminds me of the Bills game in Buffalo last year when he did not have a very good game, especially against Dalton Kincaid. And it was also, he was sick the whole week leading up to it. And then it was like, why does he look like this? And I remember I was breaking it down and somebody pointed out, wasn't he sick this week? I was like, oh yeah, I guess that probably does kind of play a factor. That was one of my rookie growing moments, learning like, yeah, sometimes like if somebody doesn't play really well, make sure you at least double check the injury report. So yeah, again, I don't think that's the reason because we know he's been struggling for a while, but hey, if he's not good enough to be on the field, I hope they're putting some serious consideration, sickness or not, into just giving him the rest of the year to start getting healthy.
Something like they sort of did that with Ramondre Stevenson last year, right? And even Matthew Judon as well when it came down to it. Judon was going to seemingly potentially be ready enough to play the last 2-3 games, but at that point the season was over. Same with Ramondre. They put him on IR and basically shelved him. So could potentially be something they try and do here with Kyle Duggar. So that's the injury report from today. Again, check it out. Myself and Taylor tweeted it out if you didn't see it. But Kyle Duggar, Marcus Jones, and JaMychal Hasty all absent from practice today. All right, let's get into the fun stuff. Taylor, Drake Maye goes 19 of 22 last Sunday against the Cardinals, 200 yards, a touchdown, an interception that wasn't really his fault, and a rushing touchdown, making it a double touchdown day for Maye, one through the air and one through the ground. Some ups, some downs, but you have the film. Take us through it. What'd you see from the rookie in another one of his solid starts where, again, he's completing 19 of 23 passes. His completion percentage keeps going up and up on the year.
Yeah, it was career high completion percentage, career high in yards per attempt. We kind of talked in terms of an overview about the breakdown yesterday. So always make sure to check out our shows if you haven't. But I'm going to be diving into the film now. We are going to start off with the negatives just because there were more positives. Get the negatives out of the way so that we can finish on a high note. And there really were not many, so don't want to freak out or anything. But there were obviously, it's a rookie quarterback, always things that you can improve. Today, actually, he mentioned how sometimes defenses will change things up on him and kind of bait him into a deep throw, and he's got to do a better job at knowing when he should go downfield and when he should take the short stuff, which he's done a fantastic job of for the most part. But here's one of the few examples, especially in this game, where it felt like he was really forcing something. So as you can see, this is on the deep shot to Kayshon Boutte. So the Cardinals are going to start out middle field open or split safety coverage. So Drake Maye may be thinking, because of a combination they have, he has a potential deep shot down the middle of the field because he's going to have Kayshon Boutte running a corner post and then Jalen Polk running an over route. But what we're going to see after the snap is that it's not going to be split safety. They're going to rotate down with Jalen Thompson covering Hunter Henry, then Budda Baker playing the deep middle of the field. So, like I said, Polk is going to be running over the middle. Baker is going to be running a post route. You do not want to throw this call it a post safety for a reason. If you see that middle of the field is closed, most of the time you do not want to throw that route. Instead, you throw over the middle, usually because, especially given the coverage that the Cardinals end up playing, it's pretty wide open in the middle of the field. So going to let this play run. Once again, you have the crossing route. And then I had to kind of shrink this route a little bit, but it bends a little deeper downfield than that. So once again, the matchup that we're going to look at is Kayshon Boutte against Sean Murphy-Bunting, who apparently is dating Bobby Althoff or whatever the hell.
I saw that too, but then he responded to it today and said that it was a lie and it wasn't him in the video. So, strange. Okay. Very interesting. Yeah.
Maybe that'll just be a separate stand-up another day because that's kind of fascinating. But anyway, this is a football show. So we got Kayshon Boutte, Sean Murphy-Bunting. Now, Maye takes the snap. What I actually do love about this play is the pocket management, because as soon as he gets to the top of his drop, he has interior pressure from Ben Brown, does a great job climbing the pocket, step up, step up. Now, what I don't love here is I think on this step up, he should have just planted his feet and either said, I'm going to go short to Hunter Henry or I'm going to throw to Jalen Polk. Now, Polk is in yellow because he's not wide open, but this is still the kind of throw where you put it out in front of him and say, hi, my guy catches it or no one catches it. Because at this point, you should be able to see that Budda Baker is right on top of this post route. You really don't want to be throwing that, especially at a safety of Budda's caliber, where you can kind of take that the other way if you're not really careful.
You're throwing into a rotation too, which
exactly. So instead of that, he's going to continue to hitch up and then try to get the deep shot to Kayshon Boutte. Now, in Drake's defense, you see Kayshon starts to slow down as soon as he turns. I think it's because he saw the post safety and thought, oh, there's no way this ball's going to me. That doesn't matter, dude. You got to run these routes at 100%. Like Mayo said, although he's not going to call out specific players, he's going to say, Boutte, your job is to get open and to catch the ball. And obviously this is a tough position to get open, but you really can't stop on the route because you see him slow down. Then he gets back on his horse and the ball is out in front. At least if he'd continued to run, he might have had a shot at this. So one, Drake Maye does force it, but also doesn't get a lot of help from his wide receiver. Now we're going to look at what seemed like some kind of off play with Jalen Polk. and Drake Maye, but this is another one when I feel like Drake Maye maybe could have helped himself with a better decision. So we're going to get a matchup between Jalen Polk and Budda Baker. Oftentimes, a receiver and a safety, that's a mismatch you want to exploit. But here, Budda Baker's a very good player. Jalen Polk at this point in his career is not. I don't know how much I love the idea of targeting this matchup, but I kind of get it in theory. Positionally, it is a bit of a mismatch, and you're going to get an outbreaking route against Budda Baker. But I don't love the decision here from Drake Maye because, one, at this point in the progression, I think he should see, okay, whether this is supposed to be an out, whether it's supposed to be a corner, because Drake Maye ends up kind of throwing this to no one. I think it was a throwaway. But when you see Baker reading the hips with this outside leverage, with Polk running an outbreaking route, you'd like for him to say, okay, this isn't here, but if it's cover one, on the other side of this formation, I've got two in-breaking routes that should have an advantage. Because once again, I would like for him to, after that, to have gone on to the other side of the field, but he kind of stays locked on, doesn't look very comfortable. You can see in the footwork, looks a little hesitant on when to throw this exactly. And by the time he does, I will give some grace. He's got an edge rusher bearing down as he's throwing the ball. But still, what I'm saying is if he comes off this a little sooner, he has Austin Hooper in the intermediate part of the field. We know he loves Austin Hooper on these kinds of routes. And he's even got Hunter Henry short. So at this point, I don't think you can really come off these and make the other throws. I just wish he was a quick, faster in his progression, because then he ends up kind of just throwing this into the stands. I think that's a good decision because you don't want to throw into a bad window, but I think he had an opportunity to potentially throw a touchdown or at least get some positive yardage. And this is the last one for me, his miss to Kayshon Boutte. This is the only one that really was exclusively on Drake, but I think I understand why. So this is a bootleg. They're making it look like a counter that they tried earlier in the game. This is why when people get so mad, the Patriots are so predictable on first down, all they ever do is run. When they do that, they're usually setting up something else. And one of those first down runs ends up being this, where you'll see with Jaheim Bell specifically. Looks like counter right now, right? He opens up. You got Nwenu pulling, but what he's actually going to do, Jaheim Bell, is reverse out into the flat. To this point, Baron Browning thinks this is a counter run because he ends up still trying to kind of go after Ramondre Stevenson, who does a great job picking up the blitz. Nice little guitar fake there from Drake Maye. Empty hand. Come around on the bootleg action. Now, he initially is going to look to Austin Hooper, right? That's where he starts to throw, but I think he realizes that the defender is crashing down on him and says, you know what? No, I'm going to maybe go off to somebody else, not force this throw. Then you see him look to the flat, which I think he's doing because he wants to manipulate this defender. Now, either it's a reaction or he did this intentionally. Either way, I think it was a good decision to not go to this flat and to instead attack downfield. But one reason I think he's pumping and trying to manipulate the defender is after he does this, he immediately, after opening up towards the flat, as he's throwing, turns to Kayshon Boutte. I also think trying to do this in kind of like a no-look throw, which he did pull off later in the game and we'll break down. I think on this play, trying to throw to Boutte while looking somewhere else is a reason that this, despite Kayshon Boutte being wide open, ends up sailing on him, because you don't really see these kind of misses from Drake very often. So I think, again, he can do this. And we've seen many other times where he kind of has his eyes one place. By the time the ball comes out, he's somewhere else. These are the mistakes you're going to make. Hopefully, Alex Van Pelt has some kind of coaching point for him where if he does want to do something like this again, it works out. I'm not a quarterback's coach, so I don't know. But it looked like one instance where, that's one of the few times where he wasn't able to complete, especially to a wide open receiver. You'd like to see him make that play. But also, these are relatively nitpicky for the most part. Like I said, Kayshon Boutte didn't always help, or his receivers didn't always help him out. You got Kayshon Boutte stopping running, even though it was a forced throw. You got Jalen Polk looking like he's not running the right route. Either that or Drake Maye just said, you know what, I'm going to throw this away just because I did stay on this too long and I don't want to potentially put this in a bad window. And then the last one, I don't want to say trying to do too much because, like I said, he has done it before, but it did seem like, all right, next time, maybe just try to get a little bit more set before you let that one go. But again, those are like the three bad plays I found. And when you're talking about a rookie quarterback, if those are the mistakes, we didn't even talk about the interception because I think more so, I think it was a great throw by Drake. Not great, but I think it was a good throw. What Kayshon Boutte did, though, and why his answer frustrated me, where he's like, yeah, it was a low throw. It's hard to adjust. With Hunter Henry, I'm more on his side because I really did think the way he's breaking and everything, it's tough. But with Boutte, you can see that he catches it and looks behind him to turn upfield and then juggles the ball and looks back.
Right.
That's on the receiver. That's where, no, look it in, and then you'll be fine. So, yeah, I thought for the most part it was an impressive effort from Drake Maye, and I got plenty of clips for the good, so it's not going to be all bad.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, we're talking about 3 of the 4 incompletions were what you just showed. The other one was an interception that wasn't his fault. Everything else, 19 incompletions, a couple runs for a rushing touchdown. Like, overall, obviously, like you said, a great game. But fair enough to nitpick those 3 plays. I think even the no-look type of pass to Booty, it's basically just, like you said, not trying to do too much, but okay, if you're going to do that, either try and get yourself reset to when you do manipulate the defender, be able to put it on your guy, or just take a little bit more off it and kind of get a better feel for those touch type of throws over defenders when you make them come up. But again, overall, great stuff. So what do you got for the good? What do you got for Drake Maye? What did he do well on Sunday against Arizona?
Yeah, so here we're going to be focusing on the late surge from Drake Maye. Once the Patriots were pretty much out of it, but they were like, you know what? We got to go, hurry up. We don't have enough time. Let's get some tempo, no huddle. Let's just get this ball into the end zone. And this is where Drake Maye really shined. One of the most impressive drives I've seen from him in his career. And the coolest thing is, there were like almost every throw in those last 2 touchdown drives had really highlight plays where you see his patience, his decisiveness, and his ability to move defenders. So on this play, for example, bottom of the screen, you got Kayshon Boutte and Demario Douglas running a set of a set of slant routes. Drake Maye initially is going to look to Demario Douglas. Now, I'm not sure if he's pumping the defender because he sees Kaiser White, number 7, is open to the tight end side, so the middle's open. I'm not sure if he sees this defender kind of jump in and stops, or is specifically trying to just pump this to create room, but whether it's him coming up because he doesn't like the picture, or if he did it intentionally, either way, impressive stuff from a rookie because he comes off of this throw, ends up instead going to Kayshon Boutte backside, puts it on him. Nice conversion to get the drive really started. I thought that was a really subtle but impressive rep from Drake Maye. Then the Kendrick Bourne deep shot.
This is insane. This might be his best throws of the year.
Might be it. It's like this one and the Kayshon Boutte one are kind of neck and neck in terms of just seeing the deep arm talent that he has. So the Cardinals are going to show, again, split safeties. Both their safeties are on the deeper part of the field. And instead of actually sticking in this, once again, they're going to play man coverage. You are going to get this safety rotating into the deep middle of the field. Both the linebackers are going to be looking at Ramondre Stevenson. And then once Drake Maye sees the safety rotation with Buddha coming over the top of Hunter Henry, he knows he's going to have a one-on-one matchup between Thomas, who I actually liked coming out of the draft last year. I thought he was an interesting prospect. And then Kendrick Bourne. Drake Maye going to get the snap, sees that safety rotation, knows he's got one-on-one. And the impressive part is Baker reads this well and is already making his way to the sideline. So the only thing that Drake can do is put this out in front of the receiver, because if he forces Kendrick Bourne to come back to it or anything like that, Budda Baker has a chance to make a play. But Drake uncorks this one in the bucket. Budda Baker can't get there. Defender can't make a play on the ball. Excellent throw. Also great concentration there from Kendrick Bourne to haul it in. Then finish the drive with the touchdown. We've talked about it. Red zone has been so bad for the Patriots. Of course, the game where they have trouble putting drives together and actually getting to the red zone until the last 2 drives. This is the best red zone game that they've had since week 9 against the Titans. Because of course, right? Of course, it's going to be in a game where everything else kind of went to shit. But this was another example of Drake Maye using his legs to hurt man coverage. We saw it on the last play. Even if you have airtight coverage, Drake Maye's accuracy allows him to still get those balls into tight windows to complete passes, downfield, what have you. But also, if you have a linebacker on him, he's really not going to be scared of that guy, and he can use his legs to create plays. Did that twice on both of their touchdowns. Here, you got more man coverage. Budda Baker, right now, he's starting off as not like really a post safety, but he's pretty much occupying a zone in the middle of the field. But man coverage otherwise across the board from Arizona. And what we're going to pay attention to is Demario Douglas, who's about to come in motion, and then the safeties, Jalen Thompson and Budda Baker on the back end. Because once Pop goes in motion, you're going to see Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson switch responsibilities so that Thompson is in the middle of the field and Budda Baker is actually going to be chasing Pop into the flat. So when Drake initially looks at this, you've got defenders, you got 2 out-breaking routes here, or 2 routes that are kind of forcing to the middle. So you've got this part of the defense running this way, this part of the defense running to the right, and the only defender with eyes on the quarterback on this side of the hash is going to be Kyles White, the linebacker. Drake is going to say, oh, I'm not really worried about this guy. And also with this big lane he sees for him, he's going to say, let me break the pocket and use my play to put some defenders in conflict. Now, first off, you're going to see Kendrick Bourne actually falls down on this play. Luckily, his defender was worried about Kendrick's well-being, I guess, and doesn't actually turn around and try to see what's going on around him. Drake May's like, all right, fine. Right now, he can either run this in himself because this defender is probably going to stay on pop. Kyles White's probably not catching him, so he knows either I'm running this in or this defender comes off and I'm going to hit pop. That's exactly what happens. Once Demario Douglas's defender sees Drake running, he's in a no-win situation where he can either come off his assignment, like, because most quarterbacks are probably just going to keep this and run it in, or he can maintain his coverage and basically let Drake walk in. He decides to go for Drake. As soon as he does, pop comes open. Drake Maye flicks the ball. One of my favorite plays from his career. Looked just like Drake Maye at UNC. You saw that a few plays from him.
Great awareness from Pop, too. Someone who we've criticized in the scramble drill, in his chemistry, I guess, with Drake Maye as far as like reading zones and reading what's actually happening on the field. Good job for him to turn and look. Once he comes off of him right there, he actually flashes his hands instead of trying to do something else. So good stuff from Pop.
Good point. Really good effort from Pop Douglas. Now, another really impressive play from Drake Maye. This time, he's going to be going to his big tight end, Austin Hooper, in the seam with rookie Dorian Taylor-Demerson going to be in coverage. But this is going to be a split field zone. So this one of the few times they didn't play man coverage during this drive, and that was what Drake Maye ended up exploiting. But here, great job exploiting over-aggressiveness from the rookie safety. Now, Drake Maye gets the snap. He's looking towards the right, kind of like he's throwing this outside. And because Dorian Taylor-Demerson is reading his eyes, he's shooting into the flat thinking he's going to make a play, not fully realizing that Austin Hooper is about to bend inside right behind him. And you can see Drake's vision stays outside. He's not actually looking right at Austin Hooper until he's about to let the ball go. You see that subtle shift in his helmet to the left? Puts it right behind the defender. Great job creating this window against not a very easy coverage either, because it's an inverted cover two where this safety, instead of going into the deep half, is actually going to drop down. Great job by him recognizing this defender is reading the wide receiver side. He's not really a threat. I have space over the middle, throws it right over his head. Great recognition there from Drake Maye. One of the few times we've also seen him exploit the seams. I'd love to see that a little more often. And then, obviously, the scramble touchdown from Drake Maye. This one was super straightforward. The Cardinals send a zero blitz, try to just get everybody after the quarterback with man across the board because, as Kayshon Boutte pointed out, they did not respect the Patriots receivers. It don't matter because you're going to respect Drake Maye or he's going to make you pay the price. This play, because it's a cover zero blitz, you're going to see Thomas, the edge defender, another rookie, peel for JaMycal Hasty because usually you would have this defender right here. I believe this is Thompson in man coverage, but because he's blitzing, unless this edge defender peels off, you're just going to have JaMycal Hasty wide open, kind of like what we saw against the Jaguars when they sent an all-out blitz. And Drake was like, oh, you want to leave him open in the flat? Fine. I'll just check it down. Instead, Drake does a great job seeing this and saying, all right, we're going to have an unblocked roster inside, but the edge defender's eyes are on Hasty. No one else is there to pick him up. And Drake says, okay, I'll oblige if you don't want to account for me. Strolls into the end zone for an easy touchdown. So the recognition, and he showed this at other times in the game too, to take advantage when the defense creates those openings or when they don't account for him as a runner, exploiting that. And then obviously in zone coverage, being able to not only process what the defense is doing and attack other spaces, but create some of those openings on his own. I feel like we see that at least once a week from him. It's just awesome to see it continue to develop and then also to have minimal negative plays and on routes where, looked like with Jaheim Bell and Jalen Polk, both those guys had routes where they wound up ending up in the same area as Austin Hooper. I tried to get clarity on exactly what happened on those plays. Jaheim Bell said he ran the route that was on paper. So, that's all the info I was able to get. Right. Clearly something went wrong, but both times Drake was able to either take his check down or just use his legs and pick up some positive yardage. So he's going to have the best game of his career again. It seems like he's stacking these. He's going to have to really take advantage of whatever downfield shots present themselves and take advantage when the defense just leaves him underneath stuff. But once again, very impressive performance from the Patriots' third overall pick.
I was going to say, it doesn't even feel like he was the number 3 overall pick. He continues to get better and better every single week. And I say that because he already looks like one of the better quarterbacks in football. I don't say that lightly. I'm not going to give him top 5, top 3 status quite yet, but come next year, as if he continues on this trajectory, he's going to be legit. He's making veteran type plays on the field week in, week out. So thank you, Taylor, for the breakdown. And thank you, Drake May, for finally giving, not for you, but thank you, Drake May, for giving us good Patriots tape to break down on this show. All right, we're going to get to all.
Thank you for the nice word, real quick. Thank you for the nice words in the comment. I get so subconscious doing these breakdowns. So when you guys like them and they don't overwhelm you all, it really means a lot. So thank you very much for that.
The big leagues, Taylor. Rin says you need to be in the big leagues. Get Taylor a major.
I don't know, Rin, but I appreciate the kindness.
All right, let's get back. Oh, wait, here's another one. T. Kyles with some legit breakdown. Good stuff, Taylor.
Thank you, Bob.
All right, let's talk about PrizePicks before we answer all of your Patriots questions. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. And all you got to do is pick more or less on at least 2 players, and you will have a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. It's America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. They allow you to make the holidays bigger and better on PrizePicks. They also now offer MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season, putting their members first. All withdrawals on PrizePicks are fast, safe, and secure. When your picks hit, you get your money in as little as 15 minutes. Join right now this holiday season. PrizePicks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Pickmas. You think James Cook will get more than 60 yards next week? Joe Burrow to have more than 1.5 touchdown passes? Cook up hot takes with your friends on PrizePicks. Win real money this football season. All you got to do is sign up today, download the app, use code CLNS. You get $50 instantly, and you will you get $50 instantly, after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code CLNS. You get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, let's get to the questions, Taylor. We got plenty of them, and we're going to kind of use this to steer us into some storylines from the last week, frankly, with Jerod Mayo, with his job security in detail and things of that nature. So first and foremost, let's start with this one from Boston Rants 09. Have the players quit on Jerod Mayo? I asked this, and I put this up here first because that's sort of been the theme of this whole thing and the vibe we got today down in Foxborough. I would say, and I can kind of start this off. I'm sure you're tired from doing all the Drake May breakdown, so I can answer this question. I'll give you a second after the ad read to kind of to take a breather here. But I guess my read on this is no, the Patriots haven't quit on Jerod Mayo. Drake May, Hunter Henry, Dietrich Wise, among many other players in Foxborough today, defending Jerod Mayo, continuing to say that it is essentially on them, that Mayo has put them in a good place. Dietrich Wise mentioning that they're putting in the groundwork and laying the groundwork this year in order to continue and improve next year. And so, yes, it was bad last Sunday. We talked about it here the last 2 episodes, obviously on postgame and then Monday's Pats Daily, where we broke down the game even further, that, it wasn't good enough and they couldn't afford blowouts. And then he goes to the podium and he has another gaffe and he's talking about, throwing Alex Van Pelt under the bus and things like that. And so he then backtracks on Monday, comes in and says that, he talked to Van Pelt. He didn't know what it was about. And sort of just continues to kind of save himself because every time you ask the players, there isn't necessarily buyout yet. And so I think when we sit here and call for Mayo's job and think, well, what does he do well? And why does he deserve next year? I keep coming back to the team still being bought in. And right now it seems like they are, at least from what they tell us and what they want to put out there in the media. So right now I'm saying they haven't quit on him.
I'm in the same boat. And I think that you would start hearing slightly different messaging if they were, and even if they didn't want to tell us. Because these are grown men, and if you really don't like your coach and you don't believe what he's selling, it gets hard week after week to go in front of the media and say that you do. Right. Like even some of those professional veterans in football in bad situations, their comments start to kind of shift. We haven't heard that with Mayo. And if anything, Dietrich Wise staunchly defended him. Dietrich Wise doesn't really get into very deep explanations. He really tries to be brief, and you understand why. But he went on for a while talking about how I wouldn't say Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell struggled early in his Lions tenure. Now, obviously, these are not apples to apples, but he brought it up. And this is the mentality of the team. They're telling you what they think. Dan Campbell was in a similar situation, struggled early on. in Detroit. We were talking about it with Evan in the locker room, how bad because I did not watch football until like 2009. So I really was not privy to this. Also, I think we were 4 when this happened. But when Belichick first started out with the Patriots, they were not good in 2000. He entered the next season on the hot seat. And that was when they had Drew Bledsoe, when they had a bunch of their key defensive players that wound up being cogs in the first dynasty. And obviously, Belichick and Mayo comparisons are very slippery slopes. Belichick had so much more experience as a coordinator on championship teams. Like, obviously, it's not the same thing, but you can still point to that as being a coach who in his first year struggled so badly, people thought he really could get fired. And I think he had more talent than what Mayo has right now. So, Dietrich pointed that out. He mentioned that, what's being laid right now is going to pay off down the road. And then other guys are saying, he's still a young coach, and they're defending him saying, yeah, we're struggling, but the players are saying it's on us. Like, there's only so much the coaching staff can do. They've really taken accountability. And I know how much people like to say that Mayo doesn't take accountability. And it just feels like nitpicking, because if you listen to an entire press conference, he mentions multiple times coaching needs to be better. Now, obviously, he's right, and you can question if he's being disingenuous or not, but that is the message he gives, even though sometimes, obviously, he'll throw in something else that kind of throws it off and undermines what he says. At the end of the day, we can be upset about what he says to us. That's fully fine, because we're the ones who have to cover it and talk about it and put it into context. But the players don't care, and that's the most important thing, because if you're talking about a first-year coach getting fired, very, very tough move to make if he hasn't lost the locker room. And when you think about coaches who have gotten fired during or after the first year, like Josh McDaniels, like Urban Meyer, it was very clear the locker room did not want them there anymore. And that's when ownership has to pull the plug, because at that point, you're beyond saving.
And the other example there I think of too with a coach getting fired in his first year is Frank Reich in Carolina a couple years ago. And that was with an insane owner in David Tepper, who does the opposite of Robert Kraft and doesn't measure 9 times and cut once. And as soon as one thing happens, he says, nope, I'm making a decision. Where he did it with Bryce Young. Now, granted, Bryce Young has rebounded a little bit here, but love Bryce Young. He's our guy. Pick him, ownership. And then he turned into, a pseudo bust last year, and CJ Stroud looks better. Same thing happened with Frank Reich and that team. They fired him after 11 games because Tepper probably just didn't like what he was seeing. He was like, well, I'm just going to make a rash decision. The Crafts don't do that. They're going to think it through even more. And yes, a lot of these first-year head coaches being fired, it's because it's a complete disaster inside and outside the locker room. And right now it seems like they're still pulling for their guy, Jerod Mayo. So again, we'll see what happens over these next 3 games. That's been our caveat here on this show, where they have to play respectable football, or else the decision's going to be put in the Crafts' hands. Right now, it seems like the players are still bought in. Speaking of players talking today in Foxborough, Jon Jones was at the podium. He was named the good guy of the year by the Patriots media cartel. For someone who goes to the podium, speaks his mind, but there's an exact kind of spiel on it, but basically fulfills their media duties and does a good job with it. We awarded that to Jon Jones this year. So shout out Jon Jones for that. But question here, do you think Jon Jones could be back at safety next year? Now, he was asked as well during his media availability today about how he feels, if he wants to continue playing, if he may, call it quits this offseason. And he said basically he still has a love for the game, and as long as he has a love for the game and loves to show up for work every day, he's going to continue to do that, and he has that right now. So if Jon Jones is back next year, Taylor, we were talking about the safety position a little bit today. Do you think he could be a candidate to maybe move back there and help out in that rotation alongside Kyle Duggar and Jabril Peppers?
I think maybe, but it's not like he's shown me anything when he has played safety that moved me so much, and I was like, oh, I need to see more of this. I thought it was cool because I like seeing the 3 safety base. I just think it's an interesting package, so I always get kind of excited when I see them break it out. But I mean, like, could he? Yeah, sure. But I think a lot of the reason people wanted
the answer, right? Go
and like, he's not Devin McCourty. Like, Devin McCourty was still crazy fast, even in his older age. Like, he had lost a step, but was probably still capable of like 20, 21 miles an hour. Right. I don't know how fast Jon Jones is right now. I think he's fast enough to be a solid corner. But I think the big appeal of him moving to safety is, one, either just continuing his career if he can't play corner anymore, in which case, yeah, absolutely move him to safety. But I don't think that he's so good at that spot that it's something that has to be in the cards. I think it was something they did because they didn't have a lot of depth and experience.
Yeah, and it feels like you said, it felt like a good sort of stopgap idea where, okay, we need safety help. Jon Jones is super versatile. Let's throw him out there. But if that's like your answer to bad safety play, that feels like don't take this the wrong way, people in the chat and people listening, a Belichick move where, oh, we can't get an offensive coordinator that I really like right now. Let's just try out Matt Patricia, or let's try and, do some half measures here, right? And now, granted, it worked for Bill for a long time. So people will be pissed that I'm, talking crap on Bill Belichick right now, especially the fact that he looks like he's in a better spot coaching-wise than Jerod Mayo. But I feel like safety is a problem. They need help. They have money. They have capital. Don't make a half measure here. Go and, go grab someone on the open market or something like that. And use Jon Jones as your, break glass in case of emergency player there, and also just bring him back as a leader on this team next year. Let's see. All right, draft question. We talked about Travis Hunter. We have both fallen in love with Travis Hunter on this show. Question is, should we draft Hunter, which give this team another special player, or draft offensive tackle, take a chance with Campbell or Banks at left tackle? And I think during Sunday's game, with the struggles Vidarian Lowe had both mentally and physically play, I've sort of changed my mindset, and I think they need to try and attack long-term left tackle, whether that be through the draft or whether that be in free agency. But I don't even like the idea right now of Vidarian Lowe as your stopgap. I think you need somebody else there starting next season. And I think that might make sense to go grab a Will Campbell, go grab a Kelvin Banks, and fill wide receiver in free agency as long as you can get T. Higgins. Now, I think free agency is going to ultimately make this decision for you, where if you can't land one of those top-tier pass catchers, or vice versa, you can't land a top-tier tackle, you're going to flip it and go opposite in the draft. But right now, I like Travis Hunter, but if you can get a long-term answer at left tackle alongside Drake Maye, I think that might be the answer.
That's where I'm at. My caveat is always free agency dictates the draft a lot of the times. Because, again, you don't want to go just best player available. You don't just want to go by position of need. If you just go by best player available, then you end up you could be stacked at a position, but so much so that you maybe are putting yourself in a bad spot where you had more aggressive needs and now you have a hole for an entire season. Sometimes that can work out for you, but a lot of the time, especially on a team with this many holes, I just don't know how great that necessarily is as its own specific thing. Right. And obviously you don't want to draft just for need, because then you are basically the Patriots over the past few years. Now, that being said, my ideal situation is them getting the first overall pick, trading down, and then taking
drafting
the best
player Sanders, right? And trading Drake Maye. Yeah.
But I would like for them to trade down, get another first-round pick. I think that's got to be like a pretty high priority for them. And then best player available, but Hunter's so tough. Hunter's so tough. If he were like 190, I would feel better about it. Mm-hmm. But he's going to take time to add weight. You're having him split time. He's a great player.
I want him so bad.
I do too, but it's just like I would rather get an edge rusher or a tackle or Ted McMillan. And even like Ted McMillan, I like him a lot as a prospect, but I don't trust the coaching staff enough to develop him. Because I think when it comes to man coverage, he's going to need work. Because he doesn't know how to use his size and his length and his physicality. And he doesn't know how to maximize them right now. So I think that's going to take coaches really like making that an area of emphasis for him. I don't know that Tyler Hughes and Tyquan Underwood can do that quite yet. So that's also I think got to be part of the equation. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. I want to lean best player available, but ideally at an impact position. Corner can be, but not nearly as much as edge rusher, not nearly as much as offensive tackle, especially considering I think they are going to want to use their early picks to continue to build around Drake Maye if necessary. Now, if you get Cam Robinson and you get Trey Smith and somehow T. Higgins, or you get some other receiver who can be your one, then truly I'm okay with the actual best player available type of mentality. Mm-hmm. But other than that, just it scares me to think about, Travis being the pick when if Jonathan Jones does come back, it's like, all right, so now even if it's a rotation, I don't know. I just don't think that's a great pick when you have immediate needs and guys who could play 100% of the snaps for you on one side of the ball. I think it's tough. No, and even in first year, I think Travis Hunter would probably be a rotational player for you on defense. I think that's another issue.
Yeah, I feel it. All right, to the personnel on this current Patriots roster. Antonio Gibson had another one of his solid days last weekend. We talked about it when they signed him earlier this offseason, where he could be used as a wide receiver. He played wide receiver in college at Memphis. And the Patriots need a lot of help at wide receiver. You've seen that. They've used Marcus Jones in packages. Do you think there's a chance that down the stretch here, they could potentially put Antonio Gibson in at wide receiver. I wonder if the way Marcus Jones had to make the call to Alex Van Pelt, maybe Antonio Gibson all of a sudden knocks on the door. It's like, hey, I used to play wide receiver, don't you know? And Alex Van Pelt can play.
Don't you know?
And say, oh, I didn't know that, and then go from there. But what do you think? Do you think, is it too little too late for something like this? And I'll just use this as sort of a springboard to go, flaunt Antonio Gibson, who's had a really good sort of end of the year here.
Yeah, I'm not going to believe that we're going to see him the way that I thought he was going to get used until it happens. Because when you looked at Cleveland, they used Kareem Hunt in the role that I was hoping to see from Antonio Gibson a decent amount. I think it's super bizarre. I don't think Gibson has been healthy all year.
Yeah.
He mentioned getting treatment even when he isn't hurt. I feel like that's got to be part of it because he's playing so well. I think it's just kind of bizarre that he hasn't played more. And he is playing better. He said at some point there was also mentality shift for him. Where it's like, do you want to keep on this, kind of pace, or do you want to get better? Now there have been times he's run routes that you would expect him to run. It's just like an empty. I feel like they don't utilize him quite as much as they could. Also, he's not a wide receiver in the NFL. They're not going to move him, especially this late in the season. So until I see it, I don't believe it's going to happen. But at least he's been an impact player as a ball carrier running the ball. So, there's still that. But yeah, his use not as a receiver has been bizarre to say the least.
Yeah, they need to continue to integrate him, I would say, over these next couple of weeks. Not enough where, you're overworking him because he's got 2 years left on his contract. You mentioned he's been banged up a little bit, at least we think, for some of this season. And, running backs, they always have some tread on the tires. So we'll see what happens there. But I'm with you. I think they should, they need to try and get him involved in the offense more. All right, we're going to get back to your questions in a second. But first, a word from our friends over at GameTime, because GameTime is the exclusive ticketing partner of the CLNS Media Network. We love GameTime. We love using them for our game tickets. And right now, GameTime is focused on togetherness this holiday season, which means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better, and it is the perfect holiday gift. GameTime has the new feature called GameTime Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. GameTime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. I am doing our live GameTime look right now on the app. If anyone wants to take the trek to Buffalo this weekend, Highmark Stadium, jumping through tables, cold atmosphere, great game day vibe. Right now, you can get in for as little as $89 on the GameTime app. Not too bad to go watch the AFC East leading Buffalo Bills take on your New England Patriots. Again, that's $89 on the GameTime app. That is the all-in price, no hidden fees on there at all. So make sure if you want to go to it, sign up on GameTime today. Take out the guesswork of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download GameTime today. What time is it, Taylor?
Game time.
Good answer. It is game time, and it's also time to wrap up the mailbag with a couple more of your Patriots questions here. Let's get back to it. As far as this game on Sunday in Buffalo, we're not expecting much from this Patriots team, quite frankly. The Bills are rolling. I told you this in the car earlier today. Stat that I dug out. Jeez, I'm losing my mind. It's only Wednesday. The Bills have scored 30-plus points in 8 straight games. The Patriots haven't scored 30-plus points since 2022. So it's going to be tough for the Patriots this weekend. Yeah, Taylor's not happy. Show him the hat. I like the.
No, I don't have the strings.
Show him what the hat says. That's what this. That's what this season has done to me.
I think I'm just going to rock this for the rest of the show.
I like it. Good stuff.
I don't care.
But what can the Patriots do on Sunday to give themselves even a semblance of a chance? We've done any given Sunday on this show a few times. So what matchups are you looking forward to seeing? How much have you dug in? I know it's early yet, but what is possibly in the Patriots' favor to keep it close on Sunday?
Looking forward to seeing? None.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, I think Khalil Shakir, if Marcus Jones plays, and he's healthy, obviously, I think that could be a pretty fun matchup. 2 explosive, undersized guys. I think I talked to Evan about this earlier today, and I was going to kind of go on the same track. None of the receivers really scare you. Like, Keon Coleman's big, and I think that could maybe present a challenge. Amari Cooper is, still potent, but he's not that guy anymore. Like if Jon Jones covered him for a game, I really wouldn't mind. In critical situations, I'd love to see Gonzo on Dalton Kincaid because I really think that's been Josh Allen's go-to guy. It was a funny story. He was talking about how I think he said he was speaking to Gilmore a while ago about covering tight ends. And he said how it's different because they actually have to play slower. And it's an adjustment because they usually play the route so fast that with a guy who isn't able to get that level of speed, they're playing it very differently. So I thought that was pretty fascinating. And Gonzo's never covered a tight end in his career. But those are some I would point to in terms of the Patriots defense versus the Bills offense. Also, maybe Brendan Schooler and Christian Ellis as spies on Josh Allen. Those could be some pretty interesting matchups, especially with Schooler. He's not as big, but he's a special teams ace. So you'd think that he could tackle in space even against a bigger guy. Patriots offense, pass.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
There's no matchup I'm looking forward to seeing on that side of the ball. It's just like Drake Maye hopefully making the most of a bad situation.
Quick one.
Manu versus Ed Oliver. I'll go with that one. That should be a pretty fun matchup because Mike and Manu was played much better. Didn't allow a pressure yesterday or on Sunday for the first time since week 8. So maybe that'll be kind of entertaining, but the rest.
Yeah. Quick adjacent question to that. Will the Patriots give up 70 points this weekend? Question from B Clad. Now, I'm not going to ask you for your prediction yet, but do they have a chance to slow these guys down at all? I know you mentioned the receivers, but what do you make of the 70-point mark introduced here?
No, they're not going to score 70 points. But that's only because they pulled Josh Allen well before that. And I don't think the Patriots defense is that bad.
Fair.
I want to say that they're going to be competitive, but my thing is last year, the reason they were competitive was they were able to stop the run early, get the Bills into third down and obvious passing, and then tee off with pressure packages that the Bills had a lot of trouble picking up. Last week, we talked about it. They forced 1 third and long situation. They didn't do a great job with it against Anthony Richardson either. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I just don't see how. I think this could be another game like in the wild card where they score on every drive. Yeah. I legitimately think they could hang 40. And I don't really see many reason why they wouldn't, other than the fact that obviously the receiving core isn't very good. It's kind of like the Chargers, where I think the only chance they have is if they can just not die by the run and then not break in the red zone because they're so good in terms of coverage. But I mean, Josh Allen's still Josh Allen. He's still going to put the ball in some perfect places. Like, I don't know how you slow this team, especially since you can't really create a pass rush on your own either. I don't really know what you do. So not 70, but yeah, I think the Patriots get throttled, which is also why I think they actually might hang in this game, because this is me saying I think they're going to get completely throttled. Yeah. And of course, once I say that, maybe they actually have a competitive game and force an upset. So who knows? But yeah, I think it's I'm not looking forward to this matchup in terms of the Patriots turning some kind of corner for the positive.
I was going to say everyone and their mother, everyone under the sun thinks they're going to get just everything pushed in this weekend, and all this, more than just your shit pushed in this weekend. But 4:25 kickoff, flexed out, Bills on national-ish television, the CBS late window. All of a sudden, the Patriots could make it a game with Drake Maye. We'll see what happens. But let's get to a more fun question here before we wrap this thing up with a couple Mike Vrabel talks. Outside of Drake Maye and Christian Gonzalez, who do you want to see have a really good final 3 weeks? Excuse me.
That's a good question. Caden Wallace, if possible.
Yeah.
Caden Wallace and Cole Strange are the big ones, because I think that, like, the receivers, we have no idea what they're going to be. I don't think we're going to see much from them. But Caden Wallace, I think, is still a good player. I think Cole Strange is a good player. And I think now they're at the positions where they're best suited potentially. So, obviously, they haven't played football. I don't think we're going to see, like, great play from them necessarily. I'm very much managing my expectations. But I'd like to see enough where, okay, even having missed all this time, there were some positive flashes where if they get an entire summer under their belt, maybe we see more. So the offense, I'm definitely going to go with those two in terms of like realistic guys who we could see progress from. Outside of that, I'd like to see Marte Mapu on the field and not making mistakes and building trust from the coaching staff. And also I'd like to see the corners, Isaiah Bolden, Alex Austin. Last week, Alex Austin just didn't really have opportunities to do much. Like, I looked at the tape. It was whatever. Nothing I could really take away from it. But like that defensive backfield and Christian Ellis, I throw into the mix as well. Like, young guys who could at the very least be depth moving forward. I think Christian Ellis could be a good linebacker 3 coverage linebacker if he can just have his role and not have to play on every single snap. I feel like he could be a good kind of Mac Wilson-y player for you. And then, Marte Mapu is a guy who we're talking about maybe you have to sign Javon Holland. Maybe if Mapu figures it out, you don't have to spend all that money. You can put those resources somewhere else because right now, Duggar's hurt, Peppers is hurt, but you still are saying those are older guys. Are we positive they're going to bounce back enough that we feel comfortable with them being our dynamic duo next season? I'm not. Because Kyle Duggar, now this is 2 seasons in a row where you see the negative plays, but not nearly as many of the big plays. Like he hasn't really done much in that vein since the opener where he forces the fumble on Mike Gesicki. Also, ironically, I was looking at him and Javon Holland and like their big plays. Javon Holland also is having a down year, and the only big play that he's forced was a fumble in week 1. Crazy. So the defensive backfield and Christian Ellis. And then I'd like to see more from the young offensive lineman who hopefully wants the rotation within the next couple weeks.
Yeah, my quick answer here is Austin Hooper. I think he's somebody who, before he came to the Patriots, I just had like a strange vendetta strong. But I wasn't a huge Austin Hooper guy because the only reason I really knew him was A, fantasy football, who every time I had him, he stunk. And B, he caught a touchdown at the beginning of the Falcons Super Bowl.
As a rookie,
correct. And that started a whole downfall until they ended up coming back from 28-3. So bad taste in my mouth from Austin Hooper until he got here. But I talked myself into it, playing in the AVP system, and he's been nothing but a pro. He's developed a strong connection with Drake Maye. I loved what he said last week about continuing to buy in, playing hard through the end of the season. As a veteran, that's kind of how you become a pro's pro. And so I think a strong finish for him. Keep that momentum going with Drake Maye. That's also going to potentially set him up for another contract here with the Patriots, which I think would be important to lock him up again alongside Hunter Henry. So Austin Hooper is my guy. All right. Two final questions, Taylor, wrapped up into one, and we're going to end it with Mike Vrabel. So first and foremost, I want to throw this up here. If Vrabel, and I don't think this is the case, but for whatever reason, if Vrabel just wants to come back here in any capacity, we've talked about the overarching head coach thing. What are your thoughts on Vrabel as like an assistant head coach / somebody alongside Jerod Mayo to move this thing forward if they gave him in the building alongside Jerod?
If he wants to do that, which I don't think he would want to do.
I know, me either.
If he accepted it, I think they'd have to work well together, first of all. We don't know if that's the case. I know they're both legendary Patriots linebackers. I don't know if they're friends. I don't know if they, go to each other's cookouts. Like, I have no idea what that relationship is like. So does Jerod Mayo need more help? Absolutely, yes. Like he said, Alex Van Pelt is the head coach of the offense. DeMarcus Covington is something on defense. I would love for Mike Vrabel to enter the mix and really bring proven discipline, physicality, all those things back to the defense. But, I don't know if it's realistic.
Yeah, my thing on that is I think it would be awesome as far as, you have Jerod you sort of groom him under Vrabel. You have that person who's had head coach experience. We talk about that. But then does that turn into, okay, shit hits the fan again next season, then everybody's calling for Vrabel to take over Jerod, and do they kind of butt heads because of that? Because Vrabel might be in the building, head coach in waiting once again type of guy, and we know how that went last year with the beef between Bill and Jerod. But final question on the Vrabel stuff, now that those rumors are out there that according to Tom Curran floated this on NBC Sports Boston last night that Vrabel would be interested in coaching the Patriots next season. I want to know your opinion, and I'll share mine after that. Should the Patriots move on from Jerod Mayo, and if Mike Vrabel would be able to, if it would be seamless? Now we know that it wouldn't be. There's a Rooney Rule, and they got to jump through a couple hoops. But if Mike Vrabel is essentially in their back pocket, would you like them to do that, or should they stick with Jerod Mayo?
I don't think you can after a year, unless he gets blown out multiple times to close out the season, more. And I think he'd have to lose the locker room. Because again, I think it's very hard to fire a coach when they still have buy-in from the locker room, because then it really does seem like you are firing this person prematurely. Mm-hmm. And it may not be true. You can say whatever you want, because we also have to think about, Bill Belichick still had the buy-in from his players. People went down with the ship saying Bill Belichick, but obviously that was multiple seasons. That's justifiable, because it's this is 2 years in a row that you've gone backwards. After 2021, you show promise, and then it just gets aggressively worse each season. I think you have to give Mayo at least one more year, build out the roster. If he's got more talent and you draft some players that are solid and you still are having problems in year 2, then you pull the plug, because you don't want to waste Drake May's rookie contract, and you're hoping, even with the reset, we've seen coaches go into better situations and then have success. Like D'Amico Ryans happened to kind of luck into CJ Stroud.
Right.
Then he kind of just flipped the switch on the right. And obviously Will Anderson, two massive difference makers on both sides of the ball who helped kind of bring things into shape because they already had some players, but they didn't have those real key pieces. So I think, at least one more year, you got to keep Mayo unless it's an absolute disaster to end the season where, like, kind of with Belichick, the choice is out of your hands. Because one, like with Vrabel, you're talking about you might have to change the front office. You might have to change the offensive part of this coaching staff. Like the defensive part of this team, except for like cornerbacks and to a degree safeties, it's just been a tough situation. I think they're replaceable, but it's going to be tough to replace the whole offensive staff when Alex Van has done so much for Drake May's development. Even Drake said that he's done a lot for him. So I think there's little parts of it that get complicated where you're talking about potentially like clearing house 2 years in a row. Mm-hmm. That's just a really tough place to get out of relationship-wise. So, I don't see it happening this year.
If Vrabel wants to come here and trusts the Crafts, who, as we mentioned, already told Jerod Mayo that he was their guy, and then if they were to fire him, it's tough to convince Vrabel of that because he would be put in the same situation where, no, trust me, Mike, we want you to be our guy. We're gonna build around you, and then Vrabel could easily say, well, you just did it to your other team linebacker who has all this support within the organization. Then you canned him after one bad year. What are you going to do to me? If they can get past that, I'm for Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel, Josh McDaniels, 2025. Josh and Drake work together. Josh is here for the long term because we know he can't get a head coaching job anymore elsewhere in the league because he's had 2 failed stints there. Come in, be the OC under Mike Vrabel, and turn this thing around and get it done. That's my take. I don't think it's going to.
I wouldn't hate that either.
I know, me either.
I don't think you can do it right now. If this were next year, I would be like, cool. Experienced guys, proven track record, Patriots ties, but in a good way. Yeah, cool. But not after 1 year. I can't get it.
I get it. It sounds more fun than it actually is. But right now, they're on to the Bills. We'll see what happens these next 3 weeks and if any of this stuff actually comes about as the Patriots continue on this 2024 season. Myself and Taylor will be back later in the week to preview Patriots versus Bills more in depth. We'll also have stand-ups from Foxborough, coverage down there, written work on CLNSmedia.com, all that good stuff here. We'll clip that Drake May film. So if you didn't see it, come back to the channel and watch it in full as well. Thank you guys for all your questions. We appreciate it. We appreciate all the interaction in the chat. And I'm sorry we couldn't get 2 more questions, but it's past 5 o'clock and we got to go. So thanks for watching. We'll be back soon. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And we will see you all next time. Peace out, everyone.